What's up guys, so in today's video I wanted to go ahead and check out the differences between two of my favorite amplifiers of all time and why you might want to get one over the other. So we have the Marshall Super Lead right here. By the way, this was originally a Marshall Super Bass. It got converted by Dries Pottevan. It sounds really good, this amplifier. It has a couple of tricks up its sleeve. So it does have a switch to disengage the bright cap on the volume 1, and it also has a post-phase inverter master volume on the back, which gives you a little bit of wiggle room with the volume, and that's pretty cool. Then we have the Friedman, of course. By the way, this one is 100 watts, so it's running 4 EL34s and 3 12AX7s. This one is 50. It's a Friedman small box amplifier, so it does have also 3 12AX7s, but it does have 2 EL34s. The cool thing with this Friedman is that it does have 2 channels. That's really nice. You have a bright switch on the plexi channel, and then you have a BE channel, brown eye channel, that is more kind of a cooking Marshall channel, which is really cool. What I love about the Friedman and the Marshall, well, what the Friedman has is that it does have an effects loop. If you want to use an effects loop, that's really cool, because the tone is coming from the preamp in this amplifier and not so much from the power amp. You are able to use that effects loop and you don't lose any fidelity doing that. And you also have those 2 channels, so that's really cool. With the Marshall, if you want an effects loop, what I used to do, what I actually still do, is I use a Friedman power station right here, which I will be using to load down these amplifiers and add an IR, by the way. But as you can see, you need Marshall Super Lead, and then you need a Friedman power station to tame it a little bit if you want to play at not ear-piercing volumes. And then you have an effects loop like the Friedman. So basically, either you go with the Marshall and the Friedman and get an effects loop and your volume control that way, or you just get a Friedman, which will cost you about the same, if not a little bit more, and you get everything in one box. So yeah. By the way, I'm using this ES335, which is a 2005 ES335 with a Sir Thornbucker in the bridge, and then we have the Marzio DP103 36th anniversary PAF in the neck. So before we get going, please take a second to hit the little subscribe button down there. Press the bell icon next to it too. You will get notified whenever I put out new videos. So let's start with the Marshall. So we have the presence on about 8, we have the bass on 2, the mids on 7, the treble on 6, and then we have the volume 1 on 7 and the volume 2 on 0. So let's check it out. So yeah, that's a really great kind of Marshall tone in my opinion. Sounds really good to me. It is kind of a one-trick pony if you don't have that bright cut switch in there. And yeah, you do need to crank them up really loud, but when you're able to, man, do they sound great. So yeah, there you have it, that's the Marshall. Let's check out how it cleans up with our volume control. So as you can see, it cleans up really well, and one of the things that makes it clean up so well is, I think, that bright cap on the volume 1. So yeah, that's really cool. Let's go to the Friedman. So yeah, that's the Friedman on channel 1. So on the Plexi channel, it does sound kind of polite if you don't adjust the settings. What I like to do is I like to run my SOLODALLAS Storm into that channel, and that really pumps it up. So yeah, that's a cool way to do it. But let's go to the BE channel and see what we get there. So yeah, if you do hear that tone, you can imagine that it does sound really nice. What I am finding is that the Marshall sounds a little bit more wild and untamable, and that is exactly what it is. So it is a really great sound if you do get to crank it and get it up there right away. It does do something that is really cool. The Friedman is much more usable. You can get a cool kind of super untamable tone out of it, but you also can tame it inside of the box without any attenuators, and you get a great tone. So that's what I like about the Friedman. So let's go back to the Plexi channel and try some cleaning up. The nice thing with the Plexi channel is that we do have a bright switch, and if we engage it to either the left or the right, we do have a little bit of bright cap on that volume, like the Marshall, and it does allow you to clean up better if you don't have a treble bleed on your guitar. By the way, this guitar used to have a treble bleed, it doesn't anymore, so just to let you know. Okay, so let's just for fun give you an example of what this channel does if you do boost it, because that's one of the things. If you don't boost it, it sounds kind of it sounds cool, but it does sound like it isn't really there, if you know what I mean. The gain is just about enough, to get you going with some great Malcolm kind of things when you crank it all the way up, and you do get just enough for those early AC/DC things. But if you put a SOLODALLAS Storm in front of this channel, you get what I call the Plexi Wet Dream. So let's check it out. And also you will find that it does retain more of the clarity when you roll back, and I think that is due to the in and output impedance of the pedal adjusting that for you. So let's check it out. Sounds really clear at lower volumes. So yeah, that is what I really dig about that channel. Get that channel, push it with a SOLODALLAS Storm, and you get what I call the Plexi Wet Dream. So yeah, let's go to the HBE. Well, it is the BE channel on this amp. Let's still have that SOLODALLAS on and see what that takes us. So yeah guys, that was really cool. So let's, to keep it fair, go back to the Marshall and add the SOLODALLAS Storm there, because you will notice that when you do get a SOLODALLAS Storm, it is really addictive and you never want to turn it off again. So let's try it on the Marshall and see if it likes it. Okay, so this is without the SOLODALLAS, and then I will add it in a second. And what you will notice with the SOLODALLAS is that with the rhythm stuff it does add a little bit of juice, but it is especially when you start playing some lead that it does really help you to get those singing notes in there, and it does really make it a lot more fun to play these old Marshalls, because sometimes when you just crank an old Marshall JMP or Plexi amp, it does sound really great on the rhythms, but it is it is difficult to get a little bit of sustain for soloing, especially if you are dark like me and you cannot play like the greats. So yeah, so I hope this video helped you figure out if you want one of these old Marshalls with a Fryette power station or kind of a Boss tube amp expander thing to get your effects loop and all of that stuff if you do need it. Again, if you don't like effects post distortion, just go ahead and use a post-phase inverter on that guy and you are good to go. Or do you want the all-in-one, easy-to-use Friedman kind of thing? So yeah, there you have it, guys. That was it. Again, please go ahead and hit the little subscribe button down below if you haven't. Also, press the bell icon next to it. It really helps me out, guys, and I would appreciate it if you guys would do that.